a beautiful, sprawling city nestled between lush forests and glimmering rivers. The city is peaceful, with soft sunlight shining down on a bustling plaza filled with smiling citizens. The Eterna tree stands tall in the center, its glowing blossoms illuminating the scene. A large ornate fountain flows nearby, and people are going about their day, engaging in joyful activities. In the foreground, Alara and Kyle walk hand in hand, gazing up at the tree with a sense of pride. Inside a cozy herbalist shop beneath the Eterna tree, Alara is tending to plants and mixing potions. The shop is filled with shelves of glass jars, herbs, and glowing crystals. Alara has soft brown hair, wearing a light green tunic, and a peaceful smile. She talks with a customer while Kyle, in his blacksmith attire, works nearby, forging a small piece of metal. The atmosphere is calm and filled with the scent of herbs and flowers. Kyle's blacksmith shop is a bustling place filled with tools and materials. Sparks fly as Kyle hammers a piece of iron on his anvil. He is muscular, with short black hair, wearing a leather apron, and his face shows concentration. The large windows let in beams of sunlight, and the walls are lined with metal sculptures and farming tools, showcasing his craftsmanship. Alara lies in bed, her brow furrowed in a deep sleep. The room is dimly lit, and outside the window, a storm brews in the distance. The scene shifts to a surreal dreamscape, where Alara stands in a fiery wasteland, hearing the distant, echoing whispers of the fire spirit. The ground cracks and crumbles beneath her feet, and an ominous, glowing light appears in the distance, signaling danger. A surreal scene where Alara stands in front of an enormous, fiery figure of the spirit. The fire spirit, glowing red and gold, towers above her, its voice resonating through the atmosphere. Alara looks up with a mixture of fear and awe, her face illuminated by the spirit's fiery glow. The forest around her flickers and burns, indicating the balance of nature is at risk. A grand council chamber filled with stone columns and large tapestries. Alara, Kyle, and other council members sit around a large round table. The room is lit by magical orbs hovering above. Alara looks concerned as she explains her dream about the fire spirit. The council members, some older and wiser, listen attentively, while a few look skeptical. The scene conveys a sense of tension and uncertainty. The Whispering Woods is a mystical forest filled with ancient trees, their bark covered in glowing runes. Alara and Kale walk cautiously through the forest, their footsteps soft on the mossy ground. The air is thick with magic, and faint whispers seem to come from the trees. Alara looks ahead, sensing something out of place. Deep in the forest, Alara and Kyle discover an overgrown stone archway. Vines and glowing flowers cover the structure. Strange, ancient symbols pulse with light on the stones. Alara's hand hovers over the archway, and her face reflects both wonder and fear as she begins to recognize the significance of the site. The archway suddenly glows with intense light as it begins to open. A swirling vortex of fire and light emerges from the portal, pulling at the surroundings. Alara and Kale stand at the threshold, their faces illuminated by the fiery glow. The scene is filled with a mix of awe and apprehension as they prepare to step into the unknown. Alara and Kale step into a cavern of molten rock and shimmering crystals. At the center floats the heart of the flame, a pulsating sphere of pure fire. The walls of the cavern glow with ancient runes, and the air is thick with the heat of the flame. Alara and Kale stare at the heart, both mesmerized and overwhelmed by its power. The fire spirit's voice fills the cavern, echoing around Alara and Kale. The spirit appears as a flickering flame, swirling around them like smoke. Its voice is deep and ancient, telling them that they are now protectors of the flame. Alara and Kale listen intently, their expressions serious and focused as they grasp the enormity of their new role. Alara and Kyle return to Lumina, walking through the city's gates. The sun sets behind them, casting an orange glow over the city. The people greet them with smiles, but there is an air of uncertainty as they bring news of the heart of the flame. Alara and Kale exchange a look, understanding the weight of the responsibility they now bear. In a large, open square, Ilara and Kale speak to a gathering of Lumina's citizens. Behind them, a large banner with the Flamekeeper's emblem is raised. The people listen intently, and some look hesitant. Ilara and Kale explain the importance of the Heart of the Flame and introduce the new order of Flamekeepers. The scene conveys both hope and skepticism among the crowd. A shadowy room filled with the quiet murmurs of Ceres and her followers. Ceres stands at the front, her dark eyes filled with ambition. The room is dim, lit by flickering candles. Maps of the city and surrounding lands are spread across a table. Ceres speaks passionately about expanding the city and taking control of the Heart of the Flame. In the city square, members of the New Dawn argue with Flamekeepers. Ceres stands at the forefront, gesturing aggressively, while Lyra, a descendant of Ilara, stands firm, trying to reason with her. The scene shows a clear division between the two factions, one of control and the other of harmony. A fierce storm strikes Lumina. Dark clouds gather above the city, lightning cracks across the sky, and strong winds tear through the streets. People scramble for shelter as rain pours down in torrents. Kyle and Ilara, along with the Flamekeepers, work together to protect the city. The atmosphere is filled with panic and urgency. Ceres stands before the gates of the Whispering Woods, rallying her followers. She speaks with determination as they march forward toward the Heart of the Flame. The scene conveys her belief in her cause, despite the chaos and destruction around her. The forest reacts to Ceres's actions. The ground begins to shake, and the trees around them crack and burn. The Heart of the Flame surges with a violent burst of energy. The fire spirit's presence becomes overwhelming, and the forest starts to burn uncontrollably. The flames ripple outward, threatening to consume everything. Lyra and the Flamekeepers confront Ceres in the heart of the forest, surrounded by raging fire. The two factions face off, the air thick with tension. Ceres is determined, her face set with resolve, while Lyra tries to reason with her. The flames crackle around them, adding to the intensity of the scene. The fire spirit appears as a massive, swirling entity of flame, towering over Ceres. Its voice booms like thunder as it warns her about the consequences of disrupting the balance. The spirit's fiery form surrounds the characters, and the atmosphere is charged with immense power and danger. Ceres, undeterred by the spirit's wrath, charges forward, attempting to harness the power of the Heart of the Flame. The scene is filled with intense energy, with flames swirling around her. She is engulfed by the fire as the spirit's fury becomes uncontrollable. A massive explosion of fire and light erupts as Ceres tries to control the heart. The forest around them burns, and the earth cracks under the pressure. Lyra and the Flamekeepers form a protective circle around the heart, trying to contain the fire's rage. The battle is intense, with the elements themselves seeming to fight back against Ceres. The ancient stone archway begins to crumble as the fire's energy destabilizes the land. The stones crack, and the portal to the Heart of the Flame begins to collapse in on itself. Ilara and Kyle, along with the Flamekeepers, struggle to hold back the encroaching fire as the forest is consumed by the inferno. Lyra, standing at the forefront of the conflict, makes a choice. She reaches out to the Heart of the Flame, calling upon the spirit's ancient power to restore balance. Her face is filled with determination and sorrow as she takes on the responsibility of calming the spirit's rage. Lyra, standing alone in the center of the chaos, closes her eyes and extends her arms. A powerful wave of energy emanates from her, calming the flames. The fire spirit begins to recede, its angry form retreating into the ether. The flames die down, and the forest slowly begins to cool. Lyra is exhausted but triumphant. The forest is charred and smoking, but the flames have finally died. The Heart of the Flame remains intact, but the damage is evident. Ilara and Kyle, along with the surviving Flamekeepers, survey the aftermath. Their faces show a mix of sorrow and relief. Lumina begins to rebuild in the aftermath of the disaster. People work together, clearing debris and planting new trees. The Eterna tree stands tall, though slightly scorched, as a symbol of resilience. Ilara and Kale, now older, walk through the city, observing the rebuilding efforts. The city is flourishing once again, with green sprouts emerging from the ashes. The Flamekeepers work in harmony with the people, ensuring the lessons of the past are not forgotten. The scene shows a peaceful city, with citizens living in harmony with nature. A new generation of Flamekeepers stands in front of the Eterna tree, honoring the teachings of Ilara and Kale. The city is peaceful, and the heart of the flame is carefully guarded. The next generation prepares to carry on the legacy of balance. The final scene of Ceres, now a cautionary tale, is depicted in a quiet, shadowy part of the city. A small plaque memorializes her name, marking the cost of hubris and the importance of balance. Her story is one of ambition and consequence. The heart of the flame pulses gently, its glow steady and calm. The city of Lumina is seen in the distance, thriving under the protection of the Flamekeepers. The Eterna tree stands tall, its blossoms glowing softly in the night, symbolizing the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirths. The final scene shows the city of Lumina at dawn, bathed in the warm light of the sun. People gather around the Eterna tree, their faces hopeful. The Flamekeepers continue their work, ensuring that the lessons of the past are never forgotten. The city, now peaceful and full of promise, looks forward to a bright future.